They wanna know about Islam, we'll give them da'wah. They wanna know what a Muslim does, we'll give them da'wah. When they wanna hate on our deen, we'll give them da'wah. Who's the one and only? Nobody but Allah.
Going to the hellfire. This is pretty offensive language, and they say no, and they say Jesus is our God, and you say, and not you, but Muslims will say no, he's not a God.
When you say Muslims,
listen.
No, but when you say Muslims, what do you mean?
I just mean Muslims in the
past. Some Muslims in the past.
And Muslims in Islamic countries, and Muslims around the world.
How many countries have you been to?
I've been to Morocco. I've been to the Palestinian territories.
How many Muslims have you spoken to about Christianity?
I've spoken to thousands of Muslims.
You've spoken to thousands of Muslims?
Yes. Instead of running away from the question, let me make
that statement itself.
Let me make a statement. Let me make the statement. You have every right to ridicule a religion. You have every right.
No, I don't.
Listen.
I believe I don't.
You have every right to reject someone's prophets. You have every.
Of course.
You have every. So in Islam,
that's not ridiculing.
Islam has a history of smashing idols.
When you do it,
when?
Within the Khalifa, within a Khalifa.
Okay. Can I come back? So if Islam has a history of smashing idols, how did these idols survive as late as the British, as late as the British colonial period, when the British Empire was able to pick up all these idols and place them in the British Museum?
Because you know why?
Were the Muslims sleeping for 12 centuries?
Because different streams of Islam.
You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. How did the idols survive in Egypt? How did the idols survive to this day in Afghanistan, in Pakistan? I've seen idols myself.
I'm explaining. Can we come back to freedom of speech? Yeah, let's come back to freedom of speech.
Yeah, you better go back to freedom of speech, because this point is not helping you. Yeah.
That's a silly comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
when you say Muslims have a history of smashing idols, you know what you have no idea what you're talking about.
So Muslims have never smashed idols.
Muslims have smashed idols, but they don't have a history. Have the Jews smashed idols?
Yes.
Yes. Have the Christians smashed idols? Yes. So what's your point? Have atheists smashed idols?
So if you listen,
so what are you talking about?
If you listen, you know what I'm talking about. I'm saying within the
when you say Muslims have a history of smashing idols, you're making a general statement which is false, which is historically false.
So Muslims don't have a history of smashing idols.
Okay, if one...
Are you saying for YouTube that Muslims, different caliphates, not all caliphates, not all Muslims,
Did you get my point?
I absolutely
Did you get my point? You're making a point. Muslims have a history of smashing idols. That's a general statement. Muslims mean people from the time of the Prophet of Islam to this day. Do you know what that means?
Didn't the Prophet smash idols?
Has anyone noticed that?
Yeah.
We were talking about freedom of speech, and now we're going off on ridiculous tangents.
Steve is right. Steve is right. Steve is right.
Turn the camera off, take your microphone off and continue.
You have the ability.
Yeah, that's true. The camera,
Take your microphone off.
I think the camera messed it up.
You have the freedom. You have the freedom in the UK.
Yes, we do, and we appreciate it.
To insult other religions.
No, we don't.
You do.
No, we don't.
Everybody has that right.
I don't.
There's a theatre production at the moment called the Book of Mormon, which ridicules Mormons.
Okay.
Like Jesus Christ Superstar.
I don't accept.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Does it not? I've never seen it.
I do not.
Okay.
You do not have the freedom to insult the Jewish people in Britain. It is anti.
No, it's not people. Religion.
Can we have a conversation?
Yeah.
Can we have a conversation? Let me make my point. Okay. Anti-Semitism is illegal in the UK. Rightly so. Rightly so. If you insult the Jews or their religion, it is a crime. Where is your freedom of speech then? I don't want that freedom. I'm not saying that we should have the freedom to insult the Jewish people and their religion. I believe anti-Semitism is evil. It must be banned. It cannot be made legal. At the same time, when you argue as a British citizen from freedom to insult religions and people, you must also include the Jewish people, which you cannot. Okay, so my point is valid. My point stands. You are being a hypocrite when you talk about freedom to insult other people and their religions and not include the Jewish people in that.
When did I ever say that?
I don't want that.
I just said
Let me finish my point. I believe anti-Semitism is evil.
Did I say anything
It is banned, rightly so, in Britain. Likewise, the British government and the lawmakers should go a step further and ban insulting of the Muslims and the Christians and the Buddhists and all other people of religions.
Okay, now just to respond. First and foremost,
did you get my point?
Yes, I understood your point.
Do you agree?
Let me respond.
Do you agree?
No, I don't.
Okay,
agree.
you don't.
No, I don't agree. And you put words in my mouth. You said that I said that people shouldn't be free to criticize Judaism. I have never in my life said people should be. Let me finish my point.
Note the words of my friend here. Criticize. When he talks about Islam, he uses the word insult. But when he talks about Judaism and Jewish people, he uses the word criticize.
Are you going to let me speak, or are you going to?
I will.
This is a show for the
So
camera.
stop performing and let me speak. Stop performing. So I said.
Do you want people to insult the Jewish people? Is that what you want? You're. By the way, are you a Jewish?
You have to
are you
learn how to
Jewish?
debate. Stop
Are you
trying
Jewish?
to dominate the conversation.
By the way, are you Jewish?
Yes. Stop trying.
You
to
are Jewish. Okay.
For the camera, I'm Jewish. Now let me answer.
Good.
So I believe I have every right to criticize.
Insult or criticize?
Let me insult.
Insult. Good. You want people to insult the Jewish people?
No, religion. You not make.
Okay.
Listen,
When you
stop,
insult.
Stop. Let me speak.
Okay,
you
speak.
keep interrupting. You're very good at talking. You're not very good at listening.
I'm glad I'm good at something.
You're supposed to be a sheikh. They call you a sheikh.
I'm not a sheikh. Let me clarify. I'm not a sheikh. I'm a milkshake rather. Yeah, I agree with Steve there. For the first time in my life, I agree with Steve. I'm a milkshake.
Okay.
Right?
So, Mr. Milkshake.
I love milkshake. Especially the vanilla flavor.
But now we've done running around. Let me just make the point.
Yes.
If somebody believes, we call it Brit Milah, circumcision. If somebody says that's a barbaric practice and it's primitive and it shouldn't be practiced, they have every right to say that. If they say people that practice this, which my people do, they're primitive people, they have every right to exercise that freedom of speech.
I agree.
So this is Judaism.
That's criticism.
So this is the ideal.
That's criticism. That's not insulting.
If somebody wants to insult my prophets, be it Musa, Moses, Moshe, if they want to insult my prophets, they should be absolutely free to do that. My prophets.
Very good point.
Now my point is, can I make my point? What we initially got onto is what is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech becomes problematic when you insult violence. So if I tell everybody here to attack Steve because I don't like, because you're in the line of the camera, you're the star of the show. If I say we're all to attack him, that's illegal because it threatens his liberties.
Okay, let me understand your point clearly. Very good point. What's your name?
Joseph.
Yusuf has made a very good point that I believe religions can be criticized and people should have the right to do so. I agree with Yusuf or Joseph. I agree with him completely that people, scholars, individuals, the masses have the right to criticize other religions and deny those religions and talk about the religions. But Yusuf, do you also believe that people have the right to insult a people because of their religion?
Not the people. No one's talking about. This is the distinction you're not getting.
So our prophets not people.
No. Listen.
Our prophets not people.
Living people today that are alive today. That's where it becomes problematic. Yeah. And even then, I believe we have the right.
So why do you draw this line between dead and alive? Why do you draw this line between dead and alive? People are people. Do you agree? Can I insult the dead Jewish people?
You can insult dead Jewish people.
No, I don't want to do that.
That's fine. That's your choice.
I don't want to do that.
But you have the right to do that in this country.
That's called anti-Semitism in this country, and it's
not.
No, it is called anti-Semitism.
Insulting dead Jews.
Yes.
Is not called,
yes. Insulting the Holocaust. Insulting the Holocaust victims is anti-Semitism. You don't know what you're talking about. You're doing a bad job representing your people.
You've just changed the goalpost.
Let me represent your people. I'm doing a better job.
You just changed the goalpost. You said you can't insult dead Jews. If someone wants to insult my grandfather who's Jewish, they're fine. They have the freedom to insult my dead grandfather.
You are speaking against your people now because it took a lot. It took the Jewish people. It took the Jewish people a lot of effort and struggle to pass laws against anti-Semitism.
What are you talking
rightly
about?
Rightly so. Let me finish, and you will understand what I mean. This man, who's a Jewish man, wants the people to now start insulting.
Look at me.
Into the eyes.
Look at the Jew. Look at the Jew.
Exactly. Did you hear that? The camera is more important than all of you.
Well, bollocks to that. Bollocks to that. Speaker's Corner has not been here for 150 years for fucking cameras. So absolute bollocks to that last statement.
Shake hands on that as well.
So look at me.
Can you believe this? I'm actually agreeing with Steve today. Can you believe this?
What's this all about? We've got to go down and look positive towards Steve.
So,
what's this all about?
So Joseph is actually wrong in asserting that you can insult dead Jewish people. I believe
I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
I like that song, by the way. I used to.
It's haram. It's
I
haram.
used to.
It's all too positive to me.
No. Without music is perfectly halal. Without music is perfectly halal. Okay.
That song is never halal.
Okay. Coming back to freedom of speech, Joseph believes that it should be allowed to insult dead Jewish people. I believe no. I believe it shouldn't be allowed to insult any dead or living people. No one should be allowed to insult anyone because insults usually lead to violence.
Okay,
and let me finish my point. In civilized societies, which is what thankfully Britain is, people should not be allowed. And these extremists nowadays who are talking about freedom of speech and don't know what it actually means.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. Let me explain what I mean.
Can I just make
freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom to insult. I repeat, freedom.
Okay, the little.
Can I finish my point? Can I finish my point? Can I finish my point? Can I finish my point without being heckled?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Rashid is fine.
Coming in a minute.
Okay.
Is the advert break coming up in a second? When's the adverts arrive?
Freedom of speech.
Make up.
Freedom of speech does not mean anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. It means to criticize religions, religious figures. You are perfectly in your right to criticize religious figures, religions, and people. No problem with that. Criticism and insult are two different things. We are for criticism. This is what's been happening throughout. Let me finish my point. Okay, I'm finishing very soon, Joseph. I'm finishing very soon. Okay.
Finish yourself off quickly.
When it comes to freedom to insult, that has never been part of civilized societies. Some extremists nowadays, some fascists, they want to bring back uncivilized ideas into civilized societies where they want to insult people and their religions, which instigates violence, and we are thoroughly against such ideas.
Okay, now let me respond. So, you may have very sensitive feelings.
Clearly.
You may be a snowflake. You may not like being triggered with nasty words.
Clearly.
And that's you. But the difficulty with what you say is somebody has to determine what is an insult and what isn't an insult.
Yeah.
I agree.
And insults are subjective and personal. So if somebody were to say that I have a big nose or a disgusting beard, I might find that very hurtful. Somebody else might find that very funny and enjoy the banter. You can't legislate, thank you, you can't legislate for feelings. You can't legislate for subjective opinion.
I understand.
What you can legislate for is violence.
I understand.
And this is the freedom of speech.
So,
you spoke for a long time.
Oh, sure, go ahead. No, finish. No, he's right. Please do finish your point.
Just block this up with an advert.
Let's have a Kit Kat.
Freedom of speech hinges on being uncomfortable. There is freedom of speech needs to take us out of our comfort zone. Otherwise, it's not freedom of speech. It's just saying what everybody likes. And
I agree.
shake my hand.
I agree, Steve.
Shake my hand. He didn't say it.
I agree. I agree. 100%. What Joseph said there, I agree with it 100%. However, the details are far more interesting.
99.95.
If we apply, for example, you give an example of talking about someone's nose, someone's looks, okay, like the Nazis were doing to the Jewish people. They were drawing pictures of the Jewish people with big noses, with the figure of a Jewish man trying to overpower the world around the globe. Okay, these images, although can be seen as freedom of speech by some people, are extremely dangerous for societies, as we saw in Holocaust. Those images led to the Holocaust. Okay, let me finish my point. Okay, this is why we have to draw a line. A line has to be drawn. How far can we go with our criticism? When criticism turns into insult, when it turns into dehumanization, yes, I know these words, I can use them.
Ends up in a genocide if you draw people's noses.
When you start to dehumanize people like the Daily Mail does to the Muslims, like the Nazi newspapers are doing to the Jews, then a line has to be drawn. It is no longer freedom of speech. It is anti-Semitism. It is Islamophobia, which should be illegal, and it is illegal, rightly so.
The difficulty with Speaker's Corner is nobody ever concedes any ground, and I will actually say there is some sense and some truth to what you're saying.
Thank you.
And I would go further. I would add to
I agree with Joseph on this. Yeah.
First time.
So
no, second time.
One of the distinctions we have to make here is the UK has a tradition. Oh, you're getting this help. The UK has a tradition of caricaturing people. If you pick up the newspapers, it's full of politicians with hook noses and gangly features, and it doesn't endanger any community.
Good.
And the point that you touched on was the endangerment of a vulnerable people, and I would agree. I think that is where there is, and I would say Islamophobia is real. Some people here will say it's not real if there's something to be worried. No, Islamophobia is real. People have prejudices against Muslims. Transphobia is real. Homophobia is real.
It is, yes.
And we have to legislate to protect vulnerable communities.
Yes.
I agree with
that.
We
agree.
But what
going too far?
Charlie,
was it going too far?
No, not in my opinion. And I think this is the point. This is the point I was going to come to.
That's a good point you raised. So, Charlie Hebdo. We're going to talk about that now. Yeah.
Charlie Hebdo is a great example. They have a tradition of ridiculing Christianity, caricaturing Jesus, anti-clerical.
They weren't murdered for that.
And my point is, religion, God, prophets, they're all an idea. And what do I mean by that? They don't exist. Moses isn't stood in front of me. Muhammad isn't stood in front of you. It's all in our mind, and that we can use all the proofs we want to prove that. But I should be able to criticize and ridicule
Joseph,
your idea.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Charlie Hebdo. Charlie Hebdo. If Charlie Hebdo was to depict the Jewish people with big noses, with a Jewish man with a hat. What do you call it? Hanukkah? Or sorry, not Hanukkah.
Yarmulke.
Yeah, sorry. Yarmulke. Yeah, okay. With a hat, with long nails, leaning over on the planet and trying to over the planet. Do you think Charlie Hebdo would be doing something illegal?
So first of all,
that's a simple question. Simple question. Simple question.
So simple answer.
Yeah.
They're not the same. The simple answer is one is you're ridiculing. Listen. You're ridiculing the people, the Jewish people. One is you're ridiculing Jesus. Something that exists in our imagination.
Right. I disagree with both. I think it's hypocritical. I think it's hypocrisy. One you cannot do, one you can do. That's what we call hypocrisy and double standards.
You do it all the time.
You can.
You do it all the time. You say Jesus isn't the Son of God. How can you get for Christians?
Let me explain. I believe if you want to have absolute freedom of speech, which doesn't exist in any society on the planet. It has never existed in the real world.
None of us are advocating for that.
Wait, let me finish. Absolute freedom of speech doesn't exist. It's not real.
Yeah.
It is not real. It doesn't exist. It has never existed. It doesn't exist in Britain today. There are things people cannot say in Britain today. If you were to say those things, you would be arrested. You would be put on trial. So we all agree that there is no absolute freedom of speech. Freedom of speech must be regulated. It must be limited, not by me. Not by me. I agree again with Steve. Shake hands. Not by me. I'm not the authority. So who determines how far does freedom of speech go? Let me finish my point. Now, obviously, lawmakers in Britain and across the West have decided that anti-Semitism is illegal. It doesn't come under freedom of speech. It doesn't come. Likewise, I believe this law should be extended to other people
It is.
They should also be included,
They are.
and we must limit freedom of speech in that sense.
So I just want to fact check
again,
one thing.
again
You
to
seem
emphasize my point.
No, you're saying
I'm
something that's
finishing
not
right
true.
now. Last
Okay.
sentence. That's a good question. That's Judaism is a religion. Judaism is a religion. No. Jews are a race. Jews are a race. Judaism is a religion. And you can't insult both. You can't insult both. By the way, you can't insult any of them. You can neither insult Judaism nor the Jews. That's anti-Semitism. That's illegal in Britain. Rightly so. Rightly so. Okay. I'm saying this law should be extended to others.
I'm sorry, you can insult.
Otherwise, it's hypocrisy.
Okay, can I just fact check a few
Thank you.
things? Can I just fact check a few things? You seem to say that anti-Semitism is illegal, but being racist is legal. Being racist is just as illegal as being anti-Semitic.
Yes.
And it deals with the people, not the idea. And this is what you really struggle to separate.
So you
Yeah, let me just
so
finish.
you want to limit freedom of speech.
Let me finish. Yes.
So we agree.
Everyone agrees with that. We've said from day one.
Right.
Inciting
I
violence.
agree. So what is racism? What is racism? Primarily, what is it? Let's talk about racism.
Can I just finish my point instead of you dictating the debate?
Yeah.
Oh. So all I'm trying to make is a very simple distinction. The simple distinction is you have people, and people can be vulnerable and can be harmed in this world, and you have ideas, religion, God. Every Muslim I know unreservedly will say that Jesus is not the Son of God. For a Christian, that is. It's way. Let him
finish, please.
To deny Jesus is a God is far more insulting than drawing a picture of Muhammad, who isn't God.
In your opinion.
And there is the problem.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I have a question now. Is it allowed in Britain to insult Judaism?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. It's illegal.
No, it's not.
It's illegal.
People
you don't know what you're talking about.
People criticize.
Insult. I said insult, not criticize. Again, let me clarify again for Joseph's convenience.
What's the
We are talking about insulting, not criticizing. We are for, as Muslims. Let me finish.
You can insult Moses
Joseph,
to the camera.
Okay, let me finish.
can
Joseph,
insult
no,
Moses.
we don't want to do that. Wait. As a Muslim, I am for criticizing religions. You want to criticize Islam, do it day and night. We have no problem with that. Okay? You want to criticize Judaism? No. To us Muslims, no, it's not acceptable. Like it isn't in Britain today. Thankfully and rightly so. Likewise, it should not be allowed, like it isn't allowed to insult Judaism, it should not be allowed to insult other religions. This is why we believe in freedom of speech, which is regulated, which is limited, like it is in the case of anti-Semitism. Okay, and I'm being very consistent. Joseph is not for some reason.
Which law forbids you from insulting a religion?
Anti-Semitism.
No, anti-Semitism deals with the people.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, show
you
me
don't know
the
what you're
law.
talking about.
You can't just say to the camera, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because the UK has a tradition.
Can I write an article? Can I write an article?
Adnan, there is a show on Broadway at the moment called The Book of Mormon. Called the Book of Mormon. It ridicules and rips the Mormon faith. No one's getting arrested.
I believe that's wrong.
That's your opinion. That's not British law.
But that's
what you're
double
confusing.
standards.
No,
that's double standards.
You're not understanding a basic premise of what we're talking about, which is ideas versus people. Me and your people, religion exists in the imagination.
Can we criticize or insult? Not criticize. We agree on criticism. Academics always do that. Can we insult Judaism in Britain?
Yes.
That's you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
you don't know what you're talking.
For the camera, you explain to the camera how
anti-Semitism.
That's for the
anti-Semitism.
Listen to me.
The legislation is that you cannot insult the Jewish people in the faith.
Listen to me. Why do you think that Judaism you can't insult, but Mormonism you can?
Let me go Let me go to Sheikh Google and see what anti-Semitism is.
Yeah. So it'll be the IRA definition, which is all over the news.
Can I ask a quick question? From what I know, you can't depict Muhammad.
Yeah.
It's illegal to depict Muhammad.
No,
So
no.
we don't even know what Muhammad looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
So wait,
Sorry,
give me a second.
We're not allowed to
Just a
depict
question.
Muhammad in this country. Yes, we
No.
can't.
The Muslims.
But I'm not a Muslim.
You're completely missing the point.
Okay.
You're missing the point. We don't know what Muhammad looks like. There's no stories.
That's
there's no
fine.
evidence.
We don't know what Jesus
there's no
looks
bread
like.
trail. There's no bread trail, right? There's no bread trail as to what Muhammad looks like.
The Irish definition's what you want.
Wait. Before I go to definitions,
how did
look,
Charlie
I put
happen?
anti-Semitism in Google, and what came up? Articles: Chelsea face partial stadium closure if UEFA finds fans guilty of anti-Semitism. Wait, let me finish.
They turned
Let me
up in a
finish.
game with the Nazi death squad logos on. That's what that's talking about. Nazis.
And I agree they should be banned. Such nasty people
that's talking
should be
about-
banned. Wait. Let me finish. Another headline from Jewish Chronicle, the newspaper: Labour official becomes first party employee accused of anti-Semitism, which is illegal in Britain. Chelsea condemn anti-Semitic chants in MOL VD Europe or league game or something. Now to the definition.
So I've got the definition here, so I've already preloaded it.
Okay.
So the definition, which is accepted by the British government, is the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, which has been all over the news because of Jeremy Corbyn's refusal to accept it. So it says, calling for, aiding or justifying or killing or harming the Jews, harming of the Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing or stereotypical allegations about Jews, such as power of Jews as a collective, such as especially, but not exclusively, the myth about the world Jewish conspiracy or Jews controlling the media, economy, government or other societal institutions, accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoings committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews, denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, e.g. gas chambers, or intentionally of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of the National Socialist Germany, the Nazis, and its supporters, accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust, accusing Jewish citizens.
That's
you see the trend.
That's
you see the trend.
though. That's problematic.
This is the definition that's accepted by the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, accepted by the Conservative Party.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is
What
that
does
the
Israel as a
focus,
state have to do with Judaism?
because anti-Semitism manifests in Israel. But we can come
I
back.
understand
We'll
that,
come back. It's going to distract us if we go
go ahead,
Israel-Palestine.
go ahead.
But
We're not.
There is an accepted definition, and it deals with the people, not the ideas.
Okay.
Ideas are free to criticism
Okay.
in terms of religion. I'm not a Muslim. I should be free
Okay,
to Muhammad.
let's get more practical. Let's get more practical with this. Let's get more practical. If I was to pull out something from the Mishnah or from the Talmud,
Yeah.
and I was to discuss it in public, okay,
Yeah.
and say the Jews believe in this,
Yeah.
and therefore the Jews are likely to do that,
Yeah.
and that particular criticism, which is not insult by the way,
Yeah.
leads to the persecution of the Jewish people, right? Would that be allowed?
So I think that's a very, very strong argument. And
Yes.
So, yes, I think if something is written in Jewish scripture,
Yes.
people should be able to present it to Jews and say, look, this is what your book says, and they should be able to spread that. However,
My question is not that. My question is something different.
Okay,
Is it?
because
Is that allowed?
so
If it definitely leads to the persecution of the Jewish
if
people.
it's not fabricated and
It's
you're
not.
bringing something from Jewish scripture, so as an example, and I think it's better to deal with realities. In Judaism, when the Jews conquered the land of Israel, under Joshua, there were people that were living there that were displaced and killed. There was a big war, and if a Muslim or a Christian or someone were to come and use this and say, look at what the Jews did back then according to their scripture, that you can't legislate against that because that's what the book says. There's a duty on the Jewish people and educated
I'll
people
give you a better
So
example. I'll give you a better example. During the Middle Ages, the Jews were hunted throughout the West.
Yeah, and
or
the Muslim world
Western
even.
Europe,
Yeah.
Western
Not
Europe,
just
and Eastern Europe.
And further east, and the Muslim world.
Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about that. These are two different questions. The Jews in the West and the Jews in the East, as
Yeah.
in the Muslim world.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it. First of all, the Jews were specifically or particularly hunted for their beliefs about Jesus Christ. The copies of Talmud were
Yeah.
burnt in public.
Yep.
Okay, after the fourth council of fourth Latin Council. No, 1215. Right, when copies of Talmud were burnt because the Jews were accused of dicide.
Yep.
Okay, because there are passages in the Talmud that insulted Jesus and his mother. Okay, wait. I'm finishing my point.
Okay, finish your point.
And based upon those examples, laws are made later on that such things cannot be done again. This is what we call anti-Semitism. You cannot use certain statements from the Talmud to demonize or dehumanize the Jewish people so that they are killed or they are persecuted. That would be called anti-Semitism. Likewise, a criticism or an insult of a religion in a way that it leads to the persecution of the people and their destruction cannot be allowed a privilege. Okay. Islamophobia cannot be regarded as freedom of speech. Now, Islamophobia, who defines it is another good question. We can go on and on and on. This is where we.
Yeah.
So anti-Semitism is to commit a crime against the son of Sam.
Okay, fine.
Exactly, I agree.
Rabbi,
I agree with the rabbi.
He's actually a rabbi, but he's thank you, Hassan. Let me speak to these people. So what you described in the Talmud is very real. Not what was said, but the lies they said about it. They took passages of the Talmud that weren't about Jesus or Mary and said they were, and that led to Jews getting killed. Absolutely. And that comes back to what I was saying before. I was saying if somebody takes something and it's actually written there, like you can't legislate about people discussing what's written in a book. But so let's bring it back to Islam.
Yeah.
So because we're dealing with Judaism, in the same way that I can read verses in the Quran and I can read things about, and we don't have to go into this, but slavery.
Yeah.
And I can say, actually, I think slavery is abhorrent. These Muslims, their religion, it legislates that slavery is okay, and I know Judaism, so it's not. If I were to say that, I should be free to say that because it's in the Hadith, it's in the Quran, and it's your duty as a scholar, or as not a scholar, to correct me. And I can be insulted.
Very good point. Let me come back on that. To make a statement that the Muslims or Muslim civilization had an institution called slavery or servitude is one thing. To say that Muslims are a bunch of slavers and they believe in slavery is a completely another statement. The first one, the former, is an academic opinion. Nothing wrong with that. The latter is dehumanization and leading to persecution. The latter is problematic. The former is perfectly valid. No problem with that. This is where anti-Semitism, to say that the Jews believe in X, Y, and Z is perfectly fine. To say that the Jews are a bunch of X, Y, and Z is a completely different statement.
This is the problem with your argument, because it stifles my ability to actually hold an opinion. So you said that if you were to say that Muslims were slavers, that's dangerous speech.
No.
Okay, say
the Muslims are a bunch of slavers. Okay. Is current. Okay, are a bunch of slavers, and they believe in slavery, right? That's one statement. To say that the Muslim civilization had an institution called servitude and slavery is another statement altogether.
Let me be really specific.
Yeah.
I say that Islam not only had an institution called slavery, Islam outlawed eating bacon. Yeah?
Yes.
But it legislated for slavery. There are laws to do if you make your slave woman pregnant. What happens? There are laws of whether
Judaism.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Judaism, like
Judaism has
like
slavery.
Christianity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to.
Pharaohs. We've been for the pharaohs.
We don't have those institutions anymore, do we?
Yes, we don't.
We don't. What, is it? No. Is it allowed? Is it allowed?
Brothers. The Israelites were enslaved by the pharaohs.
Can we not go
way
back to
before Islam?
Yes.
We agree.
Yes.
Everyone
we
agrees,
agree. But
Rabbi, carry on with the rabbi.
Everybody. So what I'm trying to say
is, I think we agree. We both agree in principle with each other. What we can't get to is how can I put it? The same understanding. We agree in principle. You agree that it should not be allowed to insult a people or a religion that leads to the destruction of those people. We agree, right? Right? Yeah. We, at the same time, we both agree that it should be allowed to criticize religions and persons. That doesn't criticism that doesn't lead to the destruction of a people. We both agree. Do we
On
agree?
this
That's
so
it.
far,
That's
absolutely.
it. So I believe such freedom of speech is perfectly allowed. In fact, I believe it's healthy for civilizations to flourish. The latter, where people insult or criticize in a way that leads to destruction of a people, is not allowed, should not be allowed, and it is barbaric and uncivilized.
Okay, and just so what the
So I think the
camera's missing-
conclusion is
Yeah,
positive and good.
Yeah, the conclusion is very.
The Jew and the Muslim agree.
Semetic, can I make one point? No, can I just, please, I really want to make one final point. The cameras weren't here at the beginning, and it actually started with, one of the issues we were discussing was drawing Muhammad.
Yes.
And so what if my religion says that a Muslim cannot call my prophet Musa, yeah? Because that's really insulting for me. And a Muslim turns around and says, wait a minute.
But how does that lead to the destruction of a people?
Can I just, it doesn't, I'm trying to make a point.
Yeah.
And
that's fine.
No, let him give the example about Jesus when you said Jesus, Muslim, they don't believe he's God.
What I want to get, there is no prohibition in Judaism against drawing a prophet, against drawing your prophet.
That's fine. That's fine. With me, no problem.
Actually, there may be some prohibitions in Jewish law, depending who you follow for the camera, because I'll get fact checked otherwise. But there are definitely streams of Judaism where there's no issue drawing prophets. And if I want to draw Muhammad, I'm not a Muslim. I should be free. If you take offense at that, that's fine. You can be offended. You can be offended by me, and you can think I'm the scum of the earth for doing that.
But if someone draws
in a free society, I should have the freedom to depict your prophet.
If you want to depict our prophet, which people have done in the past, you're perfectly allowed to do so. But if you depict our prophet, our prophet cannot be depicted, first of all, because no one knows what Muhammad looked like. First of all, exactly. So, no, wait. If you want to depict our prophet, imagine, in your imagination, with a bomb in his turban and publish it for people to see it, now you are actually dehumanizing the Muslims, and this is not racism, this is destruction of a people, a vulnerable people. This is not freedom of speech. This is uncivilized, barbaric fascism. Okay, this is where if you want to paint our prophet by your imagination in a garb.
Muslim put a bomb in his turban and blow himself up. You do it in Iraq, you do it in Afghanistan. You do it, yes, the Muslims to each other.
Wait. Are you a child killer? Are you a child killer? You're not. But there are Jewish soldiers doing it in Israel. They are doing it exactly. So I can't say the Jews are doing it. I can't say the Jews are doing it. I can't say the Jews are doing it. I can say some Israeli soldiers are doing it. That would be an accurate statement. Likewise, you can say some Muslims are doing stupid things, atrocities. I agree. So you can't make a general statement, you are doing it. So I'm not doing it. I'm a Muslim. My name is Adnan Rashid.
Adnan's not bombed anyone. He's definitely not a suicide bomber because he stood in front of me. Or he's the worst suicide bomber ever. So I'm going to deal with the individual.
I don't even find that funny, but...
I'm saying that there are Muslims, just like you said, there are Jews that do bad things, there are Muslims that do bad things. You're not one of them. You're a sincere, a good-hearted
I hope
person.
so. Yeah, I'm not.
And so what I'm saying is we are not those people. So let's deal with me.
I think we have, to end on a positive note, we have agreed in principle certain things that lead to the destruction of a people cannot be allowed in a civilized society. Okay, that cannot be regarded as freedom of speech because that's freedom to deconstruct or decimate a people. That's not freedom, that's barbarity. On the other side of the fence or the other side of the coin, if you want to criticize academically or in civilized, honorable language a people, a prophet, a figure, no problem with that. That's to be cherished. That's healthy for societies. Okay, but we have agreed, right? On a positive note, we end the discussion. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for all of your time. Thank you very much.